Well, hello, folks. How are you?
Good. Yourself?
We're doing good. Anyway, I'd like to introduce my friends. This is Alisha Yee and MK Scanlon, who are two of the directors for myself and I, an official selection of The Hollow. And I wanted to bring them to you to discuss their movie, which we will be showing, and everything paranormal related and in between. Please excuse my dog, yes, again. I told you it's his birthday, so he's feeling a little yippy today. So, anyway, Alicia and MK, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Oh, thank you for being here. I love having the voices of the paranormal and film on and introduce them to everybody. So let's talk about myself and I. I don't know who wants to start in telling me or everybody, our viewers, the precipice of how we got to the development of this storyline. So
I'll take that. I was the writer. Alicia gave me all of her little ideas, but I was kind of the mastermind behind the whole thing. I started in September of 23. I was a junior in college, and I was seeing these seniors start to develop their own thesis films. And so I wanted to start thinking about mine. And so obviously I scrolled through TikTok. So what brought me, I go through down a lot of rabbit holes on TikTok, and they can go from anywhere like animal fun facts to the paranormal. So my favorite rabbit hole that I went down, I think for about 4 hours, was Appalachian folklore. And it kind of took me through the Wendigo and a lot of those voices and whistles that people hear, and nothing's there, but something's there. And then that also then brought me to doppelgangers. And if you see a doppelganger in your window, do not engage with it. Pretend it's not there. What happens if you start to notice that it's there? And so then that brought me into the idea of the Uncanny Valley, and how there's a graph, and it's a linear graph, except for the drop in the middle. And it's the feel of human empathy. And you don't, at the bottom of the graph, you don't feel empathy towards something like a rock. But then at the top of the graph is feeling empathy towards another human. This dip in the graph is called the Uncanny Valley, where something looks human and you think it should be human, but your body can't feel the empathy for that other individual because it doesn't quite give the same vibe as another person. And your body creates a fight or flight response because of this unusual looking being. So with that, I was like, what can I do with this? I need to make a script. This is my first written script that I've ever done and that I've ever directed. So I decided to sit down and write my first script about a girl in college who is so scared of the future and what the future could hold for her. She's stressing herself out about school, the future, relationships, friendships, that she creates another individual that looks exactly like her in her head, that influences her decision. And it's her, but who she wants to be. And that individual influences her decisions, whether that's for good or for bad. That's kind of for the viewer to decide. But I poured a lot of my personal heart and soul and fears into this movie. So I feel like it is it's a personal story that a lot of college students and upcoming college students can relate to.
Alicia, you want to add?
Well, so Maggie came to me with the idea, and like I said earlier, I love horror like anything. So when she came up with the whole idea of like a doppelganger, someone that she's striving to be, so a lot of like visuals, which was like my realm, was inspired by the movie Us or the Black Swan, stuff like that. Basically like this like girl striving towards perfection, but it ends up hurting her in some way. So that was kind of where a lot of my inspiration took place.
Fantastic. And I really like both of your thought processes. And as we were before we entered the studio, I was talking to Alicia that I wrote a series or a book, or whatever you want to call it, that I never published or did anything with that actually, but it was actually more towards people who was a woman who is schizophrenic, but they were really her spirit guides. And the way that the series goes is that it actually reaches back onto those ancient religions and belief, going back to the Guna tribe and what's part animalistic and what's, you know, an anamorphic type religion. And it goes into how it developed, and the person made a thought form, and the thought form became sentient, and that sentient being became the spirit guide towards the end, and it culminates. But in terms of the research and the rabbit hole you went down on TikTok, you know, did you go beyond TikTok and research and get into that? You know,
oh, definitely. The TikTok was just really just the catalyst.
Uh-huh.
I went into Wikipedia articles and people's blogs that they've experienced this kind of thing. And like Alisha said, we took a lot of inspiration from Black Swan once I started to have all of my research done.
Right.
Because how did I want to portray it?
Right.
So kind of mixing the research and the inspirations, I feel like we created the exact kind of movie we wanted to.
Right. And it does echo Black Swan. I mean, it really does, you know. And Black Swan was, you know, for me when I saw it, was super intense, and it does capture the same intensity, which is fantastic. In terms of filming it in the actual film shoot, what did you find the most, or I should say, what was the biggest obstacle that you found in terms of shooting it?
So,
oh wow.
We honestly, our shooting went pretty smoothly. It was just finding the ways to do it that was hard. So obviously in our film, our actress plays another version of herself.
Right.
So it was getting her in two completely separate headspaces in one scene. And the way I did that, as we split the direction as the look of it and the people of it, which was me. So as directing the actress, I made sure we had two separate filming days for one scene, so that she wouldn't have to jump from having the anxiety attack to being the cockiest version of herself and basically yelling at herself. I felt like that would be a little bit of a clash. Mm-hmm. So personally, as the people director, that was the hardest thing for me.
For the aesthetic part of it, and the looks, I feel like I was also working the camera, so I had, I think, a lot of like logistical issues of like how we're gonna shoot a scene when both of them are in the same shot, or in the same, like her uncanny version, her normal version are in the same scene. So we didn't really want to do a lot of heavy editing. We knew that it's just not going to look the way we wanted it to, and it just might hurt our like time of editing and our shooting stuff. So I kind of, again, took inspiration from different movies who've done it before, but a lot of it was like, they'll do like from behind, or like a different person is in the same spot where she's supposed to be. So that way we could do a lot more practical shots, and it made it easier for us later. But it was kind of hard to get over like that idea of like, oh, these two different people. Like I had to think about her as one person per shot, even if there's two of them. Yeah.
And how did your actress, your main actress, react to that duplicity and
so
almost like switching?
I knew Sydney for about 4 years prior to shooting. So we had that really good relationship of like, we knew what we were thinking and like how we communicated our thoughts a lot easier than if I were to just bring in another actress. We auditioned a few actresses, and Sydney came in and immediately knew what I wanted. So I think that made communication between everyone a lot easier. But communicating what she needed was my most important thing on set. Especially during an anxiety attack scene, I needed to know that she was comfortable, because I knew that we weren't going to get the best performance if she wasn't, and that she might not feel comfortable in the film if she wasn't comfortable on set at the time. So it was just a lot of like very verbal, like, are you okay? Is this okay? What do you want to change? So leaving a lot of that up to her was very important for me.
I will say, I think even in some of the scenes that I think were her hardest, like, she walked away and was like, "That was so much fun. I'm so excited." Like, it was just, like, really reassuring too to know that we were doing the right thing, and, like, even with the things we had to put her through, we felt terrible, but she killed it in her performance, and she apparently had a lot of fun doing it, so
So which did she, I mean, you just said that, it was very hard. So which, in certain scenes, which do you think was probably the hardest for her to execute?
So if you watch the film, obviously you did, but for the viewers, there is a scene where she is at a party in the middle of an anxiety attack at the height of it. She's in the bathroom and she's screaming, and she slides down a closet door in just pure anxiety. And that took about, I want to say, 6 or 7 tries, mainly because we had to like track her with the camera and keep focus. So it was hard technically.
that bathroom was not big enough for that.
I was sitting outside of the bathroom watching it on a monitor with the AD, and there was Alisha with the camera, the actress, and our sound and editor in the bathroom.
In the bathtub.
It was a tight space, but we made it work. Indie film always makes it work.
That's true. That's true.
So I think just technically it was hard, and then on top of that, like I wanted her to match a pitch of when she sang, when she screamed. So it was like almost like singing. So I needed her to keep matching the pitch every time she slid down while also holding the anxiousness. So I personally felt horrible that entire day, because at the end of the day, her voice was shot, and it was right before spring break. It felt like a mess, but at the very end, like I think all of our shoots, we all looked at each other and we were like, that was great.
Nailed it. Nailed it. And I just had a question, and it just jumped out. It just popped out of my head because I was filled with so many thoughts. But in terms of, well, especially in terms of when you said you wanted her to match the pitch, what was it with and maybe it's my own ignorance because I don't know, but what was it about the pitch that you had to keep, that you wanted to match? Was it because you wanted a certain tone, because it had to blend into another film? You wanted, another scene, that you wanted it consistent? What was with the pitch?
Yeah, so it had to fade into a completely separate scene that then took place in her head. So between that scream and the scene that we filmed in a completely separate location,
day.
It was a completely different day. We had to be able to match those two in the editing.
Got it.
Me and Alisha, the entire time, we knew this was going to be a hard editing film.
Yeah.
We wanted to make things as easy as possible for our amazing editor, Amelie. But we just wanted to help her as much as we could later in the editing room.
It makes sense. Now, you talked about, and this was the one I forgot, location and standing in the bathtub. I've been there, not so much the one standing in the bathtub, but watching the photographer and the guy, the film director or whatever, standing in the bathtub, the camera person. In terms of location, how many locations did you need, or was it one place? Like some were outside, I know some was at the party. Did you have multiple locations? What were some of the obstacles in finding the location, or some of the great things about the location that you used?
I'm going to say the great things about the locations was that they were all free, I'm pretty sure.
It
was very kind of people that we knew. We used an apartment of we used several apartments, of people that we know and friends. And people in downtown State College who were willing to help us out. Everything was free, and that was such a relief. So that was the good parts. Yeah.
I think also my favorite part, as a senior who just graduated, all of Hannah and May, the two main characters, all of their scenes in their apartment were my apartment. So now it's completely immortalized in the film, and I can go back and be like, oh, my living room. Which was also great because it was a girl's apartment, so we barely had to decorate and buy decorations, so that kept costs low. And then the guy's apartment that we filmed at for the party, it already looked like a boy's apartment.
I did not have to touch that bathroom either.
I was gonna say
trash everywhere. It was awesome.
We were like, keep it the way it is. Please don't clean up for us. Like, this is exactly what we wanted. Yeah. And we also, in our communications building, we have like a studio that we call the Black Box. So those scenes that happen in Hannah's head all happen there, and again for free. And like, I'm really pushing the fact that we didn't have to pay for that, but I'm so grateful.
It's great.
Yeah, and like it has all the equipment we could have possibly needed. So that was a scene that specifically I was very worried about for location, but I'm very, very happy with how it looks and everything.
There was also a scene that was added very last minute. It was not in the probably original 4 versions of the script. And then all of a sudden we were like, what can we do to make this scarier, as if it's not scary enough? And so I was like, what if we were in her head? Like, how can we? I was thinking like Stranger Things, like Elle is in her head. And we were like, what can we do with that? And then Alisha was like, which movie was it? It was Get Out.
Get Out. Yeah, when she says the whole thing, like singing to the floor, and he like ends up in like nowhere. That's exactly what we were going for.
And with the Black Box, like you can just pretend it's fully just a void. And I think that was one of the best additions to the script.
That was I would say that for me, being in that, just seeing her in the void, it really drove it home, So in going forward with the film, was there anything about it that looking at the finished product that you wanted to change?
Honestly, no.
That's good.
I rewatched it last night, just like, as if I didn't know it by like the back of my hand and could recite every single line.
Right.
But I rewatched it, of course, at 2 a.m. because, I have to scare my own self.
Of course.
And I was scared. I know that film like the back of my hand, and I still get scared every time.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's anything. There's probably like small little technical things that no one would notice, so I'm not going to talk about them. But they're like little things that like I would personally want to change, but it clearly doesn't affect the story at all, and I'm really happy with the final cut.
Yeah, the story too, I think it's and I don't want to oversimplify it because I know the folklore and stuff behind it, but it's also very universal, in terms, there's like yourself, and then there is your inner self, and I think a lot of people, especially at the age that you're trying to portray, it's very realistic in that there's the person that goes to school or whatever, but then there's that person inside you, of almost like a coming of age, just so happens that this person happens to be like a doppelganger, of the person of the main character. And it's also funny in terms of doppelganger and the folklore. I just had an experience, and you could comment on it. I went to another, I did a paranormal investigation, and my voice was mimicked twice.
This is exactly what I was like, what brought me down the rabbit hole. I was like, oh my God.
And you hear it. I actually posted it on one of my other things on Haunted or Hype. And you literally hear my voice mimic. I curse. And then you hear my voice curse. Now I'm upstairs. And I'll set the whole scene. What happened was we were at Convent Tattoo, and we heard a loud boom, and we were all in the basement. The entire team goes upstairs, and we left the cameras running, and we left the communication devices running, the Phasma box and all the communication devices. And you hear my voice clear as a bell come through. And you also hear me upstairs laughing. You hear, because I'm talking to people upstairs. So you hear me curse, and then it's like silent for a while, and then it says, you hear it say, oh gosh, Peter. You hear me say the name Peter. Then you hear another communicative device just have a random say no, and then you hear me say either Rocket or Robbit or something like that, but it's my voice. It's clear. Everyone that I played it for was like, "That's you." And if you listen
Blair
to it,
Witch.
it's, and you hear. But what's even more fascinating is you hear me laughing upstairs, and it's just,
oh my god.
No, I don't claim this energy.
and, but that's so funny because I posted it, and that's what everybody was putting on it. I don't claim this energy. I am so sorry. And I was like, dude, it's not you, it's me. It was my voice.
Oh my god.
That's terrifying, but also the reason why I'm so drawn to this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's so terrifying, it's cool.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. I was like, that's so cool. Oh my! And then I was like, oh my god, what does that mean? It mimicked my voice. That's some sort of, that's like a bad omen.
Yeah, no, for sure.
You're like, yeah. I'm sorry for you. Yeah.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
That's on me though.
I'm fine. This is why my house has all this stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say you have to. You have to.
For what I do, I need it. But yeah, to get back to the film, what I loved the scenes. Also, not only the technically done one and the your main character, does such a wonderful job, but I liked how you brought in how other people were perceiving her in real time.
Yes, that was a writing issue for me when I started fully coming up with the concept of the script, because I originally fully just had it as Hannah, who is the main character, just following her. And I brought it to a few of my fellow screenwriters, and they were like, this is good, but you need backstory for the other characters. They aren't there just to propel Hannah. They have their own stuff going on. And when they said that, I was like, a switch in my brain just completely went off. And I was like, they have their own stuff going on. They don't care about her. And not that they don't care about her, but that's not their main issue. And that's why I brought in her roommate. And I have been close with my roommate. I've been lucky enough to be close with her for all 4 years of college. So I wanted to bring in that really close relationship of they have their own stuff going on. They are in completely separate circles, but when they're together, they love each other a lot. So with May, the roommate, I was like, what can she do that is just so opposite of aerospace, science, engineering, all of that, which I took from my roommate, Maddie. She is an aerospace engineer. And I was like, what's different about me that kind of just complemented like a puzzle piece? And I was the artsy kid of the two of us. So I was like, I'm not going to make her a film kid. That's too on the nose. What does she do? May's in a band. She is super carefree and Stevie Nicks, go with the flow. She does her own thing and everyone thinks she's effortlessly cool. And so when I brought this to the people auditioning, Demetra just completely embodied that carefree musical. I'm just loving like everyone in life and tarot cards. If you look on the wall and some of the back, we have some tarot cards on the wall, which is her. And it's so funny that Demetra is not exactly like this. She's pretty like clean girl aesthetic and she influencer online and stuff. So as seeing her change from one outfit to the other, I was like, you are completely embodying this character and you have your own thing going on.
Yeah. I remember when we sat down reading like one of the drafts of the script in like a Panera Bread or something. And I remember talking about like the perspectives of the people in her life. And like, we didn't want it to be like, she's this huge group of friends or whatever. Like it felt more intimate being an ex-boyfriend and her best friend. Like they're polar opposites, but they still to her, it feels like they don't care about her problems, but like for different reasons.
Right.
So with those different perspectives, and also like knowing what this girl has gone through, because like she's like this trashy ex-boyfriend, like we know that story, but it's not the focus at all. Like it's just kind of, it was our way of catapulting her into making bad decisions once her like inner self takes over.
Right.
And
yeah,
I am a very female focused film kind of person, and so is Alisha, and so is our producer Sophie, and our editor Amelie. So having a full female crew with a mainly female cast, as the writer, I did not want it to just boil down to boy problems.
right.
Because that's not real life. That's not what I want women to be represented in film wise. So like Alisha said, I wanted it to be a problem in her life, but not the problem in her life.
Right.
And that's why at the end you'll see, I won't spoil it, but it is female driven. It is not because of a man, and it's not for a man.
Yeah, it's funny that you said that, because while we're talking, I write down little notes to help me, or whatever. And I actually just wrote last scene. I actually I literally just wrote last scene down there, and I wanted to get your, even though you said I don't want to spoil it, I was just like, I was going to ask about the last scene.
So just without spoiling it, the last scene, we took inspiration from M. Night Shyamalan movies. Alisha is from the Philly area. M. Night Shyamalan
kind of fan of pretty much all of that horror and in Philly. So
right. So we took that, and most of his movies make you question everything else that happened in the movie and what the resolution really is. So we wanted to end with a resolution with like a little question mark.
Yeah. Is it done?
Yeah, I think too, like we didn't want to leave people like confused and be like, okay, well, I don't get it. Like I personally, I'm biased, but I personally feel like we gave enough for it to be a conversation, but it's not like, oh, I'm confused and whatever, I don't get it, and then people move on. Like we wanted people to talk about the ending and like what they think that means, and for the movie and even in real life.
And I know as the writer, I had a clear view of what that ending meant, but I knew that it could be interpreted multiple ways, and I was very okay with that. It is an open-ended ending.
On purpose.
Yes.
On purpose. Yeah, because in seeing the movie, and it's so funny because you touched on a lot of the notes, and I wrote feminist film. I wrote that. I wrote last scene. So all those themes are coming through loud and clear. And it's funny because, well, not funny, but it is. The fact that I wrote the question mark next to all of them, because it's like, if I could show this to you without showing you the rest of the work that I did, it's like, you can see, that I have these question marks all around it, but I don't want to like give away you probably wouldn't be able to see it anyway. But yeah, so it's funny that you said that. It's like we're on the same page. So.
Yeah,
we always we share a brain cell all the time. We've been away from each other for school for a while, and we started texting a lot more about all of this, and we're just finishing each other's sentences. And we're like, the brain cell is back.
Yeah.
A lot of this whole, like, I'm gonna get a little like, I don't know about sentimental, but like a lot of our whole process was just like knowing before either of us said anything, and then that ended up extending to our crew. And like I just like, I don't know if we would have been able to do this movie the way we wanted it to come out without just like knowing each other. I feel like that really helped, and knowing that things were going to work out for us, because they did. So
another huge thing for me while filming was, again, I said earlier with the actress, but it also translated to crew, just communication. After every single shoot, I wanted to make sure everyone knew how much they were valued and how much every single person, the work they put in was important. And I think that helped us get closer and share that brain cell.
Yeah,
You know.
and it's funny because what you're talking about, has an intimacy, to it, and the intimacy even between the main character and her doppelganger. It's like it's a recurring, it's a recurring theme. It's like you need to be able to finish the sentences the same way that the main character and her doppelganger were kind of, both parts of the, whole.
Exactly. And I think with that, like we kind of leaned into maybe not as much paranormal, but kind of spiritual stuff. I'm a huge believer in angel numbers. Alicia's wearing her 222 necklace.
You have your 222.
I have a 222. Yeah. This was
our main angel numbers on set were 555 and 222, and we would see them all the time. And whenever we would see them, we would know that it was going to be a good day. And so I think leaning into also like that kind of spiritual stuff kind of made things a little bit more fun and more, we could put our energy into something else. Another few things that we did, I kept finding lighters on the ground randomly. I think it was 3 separate times I found lighters on the ground right before we were about to go film. Or
Each
if I was
one, by the way, were days that we were really stressed about. Like, I feel like I should add that. We were really, really like, I really don't know if we're going to get done today. I don't know how this is going to go. Then we found lighters.
I found lighters on the ground. And the first time I was like, oh, cool, a lighter. I don't have one yet. And so then we filmed that day and I was like, wait, this did really well. The next time I found a lighter, I was like, I kept it to myself. I was like, I'm going to see if it goes well. And we did have a great shoot. And then the third time I sent it in the group chat, I was like, guys, I found a lighter. It's going to be a great day.
I think like with everything that we've been talking about too, like we just wanted to have fun, even on days that were a little more intense for us, for the actors, for everybody. Like we still tried to keep it as light as possible with respecting that space of like if she needed to get in a certain headspace. But it was just fun. Like we had so much fun with also angel numbers with a lighter. It just made everything light. We knew we would work well as a team. And I think that made us really happy with the final result too. It was kind of like, no matter where this goes, we had a really good time doing it. Yeah, I think that helped a lot.
Me and Alisha had this idea months before the rest of the crew and cast were brought on. So it was just me and Alisha with this brainchild for a while. So I was a little bit worried that once we got a crew assigned to us, because it was for a class, once we got a crew assigned to us and we finally casted people, I hoped that they would share the same appreciation and excitement for the story that me and Alisha had, just because it lived with us for so long. And it definitely took a second because obviously the rest of the cast and crew hadn't lived with it for that long. But as we went on, it just like everyone just got excited about certain scenes, the way things played out. When we were in the editing room, how we were able to mash the 2 characters together on screen, and all of a sudden the vision came to life. It was just very good for the morale, I think.
So it was like, it was, I always say, sometimes I can't guarantee you a paranormal experience, but I can guarantee you an experience in the paranormal. So it sounds like between the spirituality, because I also do this whole lecture on spirituality being a paranormal experience, right? So it sounds like, even though it didn't start that way, the energy and everything, did make it something that, that was outside of your normal everyday, making your film, and it became a paranormal experience in a good way, in a very good way,
right?
The whole thing, So what's on the agenda for both of you coming up? Where can we find you? What are your projects? What's happening?
You want to go, or?
Okay, I guess I'll go. Well, I just kind of like got an internship with like a marketing team. It's a different realm for me, but also really exciting, just expanding my like skill set and stuff like that. But also I've been watching a lot of horror movies lately, so I'm cooking up some ideas hopefully for the future. Hopefully if I get a script soon.
Working on it. For me, I am we both just graduated. So I am going to be moving to LA in November to pursue a career in film, hopefully development, that then might lead into writing. I really loved writing this script, and I've started writing more. I have a few things on the back burner right now that I've been working on and off. So just keep an eye out if I drop like a screenplay or two. Or maybe
I'm not saying anything. Well, this was wonderful, and I don't want to keep you the full your full afternoon, even though I could probably go on for my full afternoon. You know, so thank you very much. And please shout out your socials so people can find you. And I will also put them in that when I edit this or whatever, I'll put them in there for you.
Sure. Yeah.
So our film Instagram is at myself and I film. Super easy to remember. My personal Instagram is Maggie with 3 G's, MAGGGIE.S. I post personal stuff, but then also project stuff.
Yeah. And then my personal is just my name, Alisha.Ye. And I also have a photo account, which is also going to turn into something more creative, hopefully soon. But that's AliciaYe.photo.
I'm writing it down.
Cool. Thank you.
All right, ladies. And I will bid you farewell. And I hope to see you at the kickoff party, right, on the 3rd. So
we will be there.
You'll be there. Yes, it's gonna be fun. And then hopefully again on the 4th at the Hollow for all things paranormal, film, cryptid, and make some good contacts. And we'll see you then.
Thank you so much, Cara.
Thank you.
All right.